sharing my screen. I hope it is visible, right?
Okay.
It is visible, right? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So I'll do a quick recap of yesterday's session and then we'll go ahead with today's class. So yesterday we started with SQL. We talked about a dummy table that is available. In real time, we won't be using this one, but we should know what is the dummy table available in the Oracle and how it can be used. Further, we talked about different clauses available. Okay, so in today's class, we'll be explaining more about clauses. I'm talking about these clauses. Okay, so there is a concept called clauses in Oracle SQL. Okay, so yesterday we talked about select clause. So in SaaS application, as I mentioned, right, SaaS means SaaS, software as a service. Okay, so in SaaS application, the database will be maintained by Oracle, and we have an only option to retrieve the data from the application. For retrieval purpose, select is the keyword that we use. So using select, how to write SQL queries. So when you select, you should also know which table you are using, and the command that you need to follow is star from the table name. If you want to fetch every column, you store specific columns mentioned with the comma separator. Okay. Now we also talked about the data types that we have in the system, right? Varchar to char, number, date, boolean, these things we talked about. So after that, we also talked about the default columns available for every table, that is row ID and row num. What is the difference between row ID and row name? Row ID is a alphanumerical number. Row number is a numerical value. Okay. When I say alphanumeric, it will be combination of characters and numbers. So why this is needed? So for every table, Oracle database will generate a unique key as a row ID. So this will be used in real time for some purposes that we'll discuss ongoing classes. Now, while using dual, I have shown you some examples how dual will be used in real time. Okay, so sysdate is another function which will fetch the system date for us. But when you check in the system, it will give you the Greenwich Mean Time, GMT times. Okay, but we are ahead of 5 hours 30 minutes. Okay, so now next thing is we started with the SQL actual topics, that is operators. Okay, so what are the different types of SQL operators we have? One is arithmetic operator. That's where we stopped yesterday. Okay, so starting from today, let's continue with those operators. Okay, along with these clauses. So any questions from the yesterday session before I start with today's?
No.
None.
Cool. Okay, let's go ahead with clauses. So here, if you have installed this Notepad++, always use the SQL language. It will help you to identify the keywords of SQL language. So I'm talking about few clauses here. One is select clause, we call it as. Next is from. Basically, from is a keyword. So select and then where. Okay. Next, order by will come, but if you say group by, having, and then order by. Okay, so we talked about, let's keep from also here. It's a keyword actually. Okay, so if you talk about yesterday's session, we have used select keyword. Okay, this is, we also call it a select clause. Okay, now remaining things will be going through today. Okay, so for that, what we do is let me write few queries. So like, let's say select, I say star from dual. Okay, so normally what it does, dual has one row, one column, so it will fetch the details. Now, how to use where condition in normal while using any table, not only this one, or you can say select star from for all people F. Okay, so when I'm writing queries, you need to understand I'm writing in certain format here, so it is easy to read and easy to make changes if required. Okay, so here for all people F, I mentioned this is a table name that we are talking about. So what it contains, HCM employee related information it contains. So if we haven't deep dive into this table, we'll be discussing through that. Okay, so next, what is the next clause available here? Where. So basically, why do we use where is, when you say select star from particular table, it will fetch everything, but based on some criteria, like let's say I want the persons who hired in this year, or on or after January 1st, on or after April 1st, okay, on or before 2024. So if you want specific data, right, that time you will go with criteria. Criteria is what? Conditions. Conditions, how conditions can be applied in SQL using where clause. So like, let's say simple thing I'll write here, 1 is equal to 1. Normally any condition you can write. The example that I told you, to get the data that relevant. But when you want to write any condition, right, you can write normal conditions also, where 1 is equal to 1. Is this a true statement where 1 is equal to 1?
Yes, Anand.
Is this a true statement? Okay. Now next I say 1 is equal to 2. Is this true statement?
No, no.
First one is true, but when it comes to second one, it is false. Okay. Let's try with first one. So basically the expectation is up to here, we know that it will fetch all the columns. Along with that, we just add one condition. That is a generic condition. It's not related to the table. Okay. Now what we can do is, let's go to the database and try to execute that query. Which query we're talking about? Where 1 is equal to 1. Since everything right, since everything is right with this query, we can expect the data to be fetched in the output, right? So I'll just quickly complete that and we'll go ahead with the remaining things. Okay. So how to write a scale here? Data model. Click on plus a scale query, because this is a scale that we are writing, right? Okay, I selected only 5, so you can expect 5 rows coming up here. Okay, now next what I do is similar. I say 1 is equal to 2. So in general, 1 will never be equal to 2, right? So it is a wrong condition. So now what do you see? Null. It is not fetching anything. Okay, so where clause will be used to check some conditions. Okay, now what I do is in real time, right, how the queries will be used. Like, let's say, as I mentioned, if I need the data, like let's say there is a column called start date here. I need the values. Sorry, I need the employees who hired after 2024 0401. So what is this format? This is a data type column. Okay, start date is, and when you're comparing with this data type, you have to pass in that format only. Okay, 2024. So what does it mean? I'm just checking start date, whoever hired after, on or after this date, greater than, this symbol is greater than. Okay, so if I go and verify this, the expectation is that you can get the data, the employees who have hired after that time only. Okay, so if you can go and check the start dates, so where is the start date column here? You can't see anything which is less than the particular date that we have given. So what I mean to say is the criteria where clause will be used for this thing. So as you could see here, right, all are 2024 410 410 1126 63 1215 to 1126. So what does it mean? The employees that you are getting only on or after that particular date. Okay, so where will be used like that? That's what I meant to say. Okay, so let's stop with the clauses till here. Let's continue with the operators, then we can talk about this later, remaining things. Okay, now moving it back to our previous session, we covered arithmetic operators. Okay, I've executed some commands also using arithmetic operators. What are the arithmetic operators? Addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Okay, so any question here before I go ahead with other things with the where clause?
No,
I'll take
no.
it as no. Yeah, thank you. So let's move ahead. So we covered arithmetic. What is next? The operator that we have in the this thing, comparison operators. Okay, let's see what is comparison operators. These are all simple things, but you should know the basics well. Then only you'll be able to write your queries. Comparison. Okay, so in comparison, what are all the different types of operators you see that you'll be able to find this through the document. Okay. So here you could see comparison means you need to compare values, like let's say 1 is equal to 1. Okay. Like person number is equal to certain person number, start date is equal to, start date not equal to, start date greater than, start date less than, right? So the example that I just shown can be used here. Okay. So let's try some generic things using all the comparison one by one. Okay. I'll say where 1 is equal to 1, that is for equal to. Okay. Now next where 1 not equal to 2. So when you write not equal to, you can write it in two ways. Okay. Let's try the above way also. I don't think so if still it accepts that this thing. So what I want to write here, where not equal to can write in two different ways. One is this one, this symbol together, right? Less than, greater than symbol together is not equal to. Okay. So here one more way that we could see is, let's see if this works. I don't think so in recent versions if it will be working. Let's give it a try. Otherwise we'll continue for not equal to using only less than. Okay, it accepted. So 1 not equal to 2, is that right?
Yes, correct.
1 not equal to 2 is always right. Okay. So that's why you can see the data coming through your query. Okay. So that's how you will use that equal to, not equal to and all. So in other format, like let's say you can use first where start date, you can use start date not equal to particular date, which means employees who have not hired, who did not hide on that particular date will be coming up. If I say 10, which means October 10th, I don't want employees who hired on October 10th, or I want only October 10th. So like that you can use comparison. So here less than, greater than are also there. Let's see how this will be used. So less than, greater than also we already used, right? If I say less than, the employees who hired October 10th, that will be coming up. If I say greater than, who hired after this particular date will be coming up. So greater than, this is a symbol. So let's execute greater than once. Expectation is that the start date should show only after October 10th. So if you could see here 2024, 11, 26, 12, 15, all are post that date only we are getting here because your condition is like that. Okay. So that is the comparison. Any questions on comparison before I go ahead with logical?
No.
This. So please make it more interactive. If you are following, that's fine. And if you have any questions also, please feel free to talk. So what happens is when we discuss, right, that time you'll get to know more. Okay.
Okay, no.
That is important actually. So that's why make it more interactive. The session should be. Okay. So moving ahead, like SQL logical operators. Okay. So what does it mean by logical? Let's see. So beginning classes may look simple and easy, but if you are good with your basics, then remaining classes will be able to follow. So what I mean to say is, please focus on these things and try to understand what is the use of each. Okay. Now, when you come to logical, you see and, between, in, not in, and all. So every operator will be used in where clause. Okay. So like, let's say, how will you use it in where clause? Let's see. So the first logical operator that we see here is and. Okay, let's see how and will be used. I'll just give some example here, but real time we'll talk about many things. So first condition I use 1 is equal to 2. Next condition I say 3 is equal to 4. So why and is required is in your where criteria, if you want to write more than one condition, obviously it has to divide with and. So and is the separator here. So what you're trying to tell the system here is one condition should be this one. Along with that, one more condition also it should satisfy. Then only the outer query, the main query will provide you with the output. Either if it's satisfied, it will give the values. If it don't, it will fetch the null. Okay. So this works based upon your where criteria. Okay. So now if you look at this thing here, 1 is equal to 1 is always right. And one more condition is also I'm writing 3 is equal to 4. Okay, so which is wrong. So what you're trying to say, this condition also should satisfy along with this one. Since both one of the condition is doesn't satisfy, then this query doesn't result any values. Okay, that's how and will be used. So if everything gets satisfied, then only you can expect the data. Okay, along. So similar we have or. So like let's say if I say or, like and we have or also. So in real time, what is the meaning of or? Either one of them satisfies, then the query should return the values, right? That's how the real time and or. And means along with that, or means either of them. Okay. So in this query, one of them will satisfy. So that's why you should be able to see the data when you run. Okay. That's the logical operator. Okay. Now, what else we have in logical operators? You see, between. Normally, between will be used to get the data. I mean, like compare if it is in between the values, right? So what it means is like, let's say this is for between, right? Where one.
I have one question.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. So like when we will run this query, select
Mhm.
star from the table where one
Mhm.
equal to one,
Mhm.
we will get all the data, right?
Right.
When we will use the operators like and or with the
Mhm.
condition 3 equal to 4, I
Mhm.
didn't understood about 3 equal to 4 and
Mhm.
whether we will get the data or not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So here, if you see here, and means all these conditions should be true. Like let's say you might, you can have one more condition here, and okay, like let's say
Mm-hmm.
4 is equal to 4. I'm just giving some example, right? So
Okay.
out of three conditions here, this is first condition,
Which is
second three.
match. Yeah.
Out of three, two are satisfying, but one not. So
Yeah.
even when you're using and even one of them doesn't work, right? It will,
Uh-huh.
it won't return any result
Oh, so for
because
second condition, 3 equal to 4, this
yeah,
won't return any result. But 1 equal to 1 and 4 equal to 4, this will return
exactly.
the result.
Exactly. But what we are trying to tell the system is if
Mm-hmm.
everything satisfied, then only you should return the data. Correct
Oh,
now?
now I get it. Like means even
And
if
means
one
must.
of the condition is not true,
Yeah,
it won't give any result.
exactly. And means must satisfy the conditions that you give all.
And means it must satisfy.
Must satisfy.
Oh, and what about or?
Or now you
There
see
are
here,
two
one is
possibilities. Yeah.
exactly. So it will check each condition. See, when you're writing three conditions, like let's say I say or again I'll say 4 is equal to 4. Okay, in
Mm-hmm.
this 3 is equal to 4 is not right, but still or means either one of them, right? 1 is equal to 1 or 3 is equal
Mm-hmm.
to 4 or 4 is equal to 4. Out of this is not correct. Okay, this is
Yeah.
not,
Second one is
this
not
won't
right.
set it,
Yeah.
but still it fetches the results because one of them is right.
Yeah, because or operator is
Or
used,
operator,
it is suggest options. Okay.
exactly. So in case if you use combine and or, right? So
Yeah.
it will what to say? It will group up the condition and it will fetch the values. Here you could see or is fetching the values.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So sometimes what happens is um, in real time they may ask you to, if one of them satisfy, you have to fetch the data. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Like
Yeah.
let's say person hired on or after April. Okay. Or
Mm-hmm.
person job is equal to something. Okay. So if in that case, you can go with or.
Okay. Okay.
And another thing is when you're writing like and or combination, right? Like let's say how it will be useful.
Both together.
Yeah, 1
Yeah.
is equal to 1, I write,
Mm-hmm.
and 2 is equal to 2, I say, or 3 is equal to 4. Okay. Now in this case, let's see how this works. When you're writing and or together, now you have to separate them with parentheses. I'll tell you, parenthesis means brackets that we open, right? So we have to tell the system which condition we have to check together. I'll tell you what it means. Okay. So real time, how it will be is and definitely will be using everywhere. Okay. Whenever you use where clause and should be there, because we will be checking for more than one criteria in real time while you're writing actual queries using HCM tables. Okay. So here, if you see what happened is first two conditions are right, but R1 is not right. Okay. In this case, to separate, right, what we do is normally we can open a parenthesis and we can tell the system consider like this. Normally it considers like this only. Okay. First condition it will check. When it comes to the second, it has two check here. 2 is equal to 2 or 3 is equal to 4. So if one of them satisfies, still the query will fetch the values. So that's how you're able to see the values here.
Mhm.
Make sense? Any doubts?
So in
Yeah.
this last condition, we have put in these braces
Right.
2 equal to 2 or 3 equal to 4.
Right.
So from this, 2 equal to 2 is satisfying the condition. So it will provide the data, right?
Exactly.
Because the upper condition 1 equal to 1,
Yep.
it will also give data. And
Correct.
from this both 2 equal to 2 will give data, but not
Correct.
3 equal to 4.
3 equal to 4.
Yeah.
See, still why outer queries, the main query is fetching results is one
Mhm.
of them is getting satisfied. So and is satisfied here.
Yeah. Okay.
That's why.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Got it.
So when you work together, then parenthesis will make you more because otherwise, if you don't use parenthesis, it will be confusing for us, like how the system is making use of and or. So that's why to make it simple for ourselves, we can use parenthesis because
Okay.
you know which two conditions you want to check, either one of them, if satisfied. Okay. Okay. So moving on to the next one, between. Okay. So between is also in where clause only, but between how we'll be using is and 100 between 50 and 100. So can one of you tell me, is 100 is falling in this range?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. How
Yeah.
about rest of the team here? Could you please confirm also?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So anybody else would like to add for this? So basically it is right, because when you try to put this between, it will check for the start and end value also. It includes to compare the value that you have given. So 100, it is following the maximum value that we have given here. Okay. Similar, I'll write one more. So between will be used like this. Okay. If I say 100 between 80, to make you understand, I'm just writing in a very simple format. Normally we can use complex scenarios also here. Okay. 80 and 90, is this right?
Yes, sir.
Oh, is this right?
Yes.
Oh, how can you explain? Because see, 100 between 80 and 90, the range here that what we are giving is low value is 80, maximum value is minimum is 80, maximum 90.
Mhm.
But 100 will come after 90, right? But our maximum value here is 90 only. So it is not falling in this. 100 won't never fall in between 80 and 90. 100 will fall between 80, 110 or 80, 105, 80, 120 like that. Because after 90, the 100 value comes in sequence.
Okay.
So which is wrong, right? This is not right, this one. It won't fetch any result because only this condition satisfies. When it comes to the second one, 100 between 80 and 90 is incorrect. Okay. Similar, I say sysdate between, I'll give, whenever you're comparing with the date, the values that you provide here should be in a date format. So what is the sys date here today? 27th, November 27th. Okay. See, here I'm comparing numbers. That's why everything is in number format. Here I'm trying to compare system date between 2024, 11, 20, 26. Okay. So is this right? What is the sys date here? November 27th. And what are the dates that I'm trying to compare with? October 10th. And this is the range. I mean, this is the, what to say, the the date range that you are giving, and you are trying to check with sys date. Sys date is November 27th. The values that you are passing is October 10th and November 26th. So is this right statement?
Wrong.
It is wrong because after 26, 27 comes.
27.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's how you will use between for numbers and dates. Between can't be used for character because you cannot compare characters like this now. Making sense?
Yes,
Able to
yes.
follow? Any questions?
No question.
Okay, cool. So now moving ahead, after between, what is that? In. Okay. So how in will be used? Let's see. So these are all simple things. I mean, initially you just need to understand which one to be used for your requirements. Accordingly, it will be okay. So next thing is I'll say 100 in, since these are numbers, right? 200. Sorry. 50. 105. Let's say 200. So in means it will check whether this number is available in this list. So is this number available in this list?
Yes, sir.
How? Can you help me? I'm looking for exact number, right? Exact number to be available in this list. I have
No,
given multiple
no.
values here. It is not
exact
available.
is not available.
It is not available.
No.
So it won't fetch any data. So if I try executing this one, right? Let's see. Okay. Click on OK. So whenever the condition don't satisfy, what happens? It will fetch null. This is no data. Okay.
Mhm.
Now similar, how I write is for not in, I'll just put not here. Okay. Now is this right statement?
Right.
Now you're checking for 100 should not be in the list that you have given. So it is a right statement, which will fetch the values.
Yes, it will fetch.
Right. Like let's say, go ahead and write here, not in. Okay. So execute this and you can see the data is coming up. Okay. That's about in and not in. Now, what next? Or we tried exist, not exist, and like. Okay. Let's cover like first and I'll go to the exist and not exist later on. Okay. So like in normally in real normally in our day-to-day life also, like will be used to see at least some extent if the value is right or not. Like means it is not exactly same, but looks like, seems like. That's how we will use, right? So like will be used up to some extent, right? The value. So how it will be is, and this one person number, like I'll write it in a different way. So these numbers will not be useful here. Person number, there is a column. Okay. Person number is a varchar2 column. Okay. Like what I'm saying is 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5. Okay. I'll execute this and I'll make you understand how like works. So when you use like, you're trying to compare this with up to some either beginning or ending values or middle values. Like let's say contains, starts with, ends with, like that. Okay. So if I go and check person number, what are you seeing here? 3, 4, 5. Whatever the persons ending with 3, 4, 5, those numbers are coming up here. Am I right? So like let's say maximum you take 200. And if you see all the numbers, it is coming ending with 3, 4, 5. How this is working like that is, here I'm checking for person numbers, which are start can be anything, but those person numbers should end with 3, 4, 5. Okay. So
is it compulsory to give this condition like where 1 equal to 1?
no, not necessarily. You can remove that. So how 1 is equal to 1 will be helpful is like, let's say I have multiple conditions in the query. I'm talking about real time, how you may be dealing with 500, 600 lines of query. Okay. And I have more than one condition in my SQL. Okay.
In some of the
Now,
operators like and or in, not in, वगैरह, and or.
yeah. So yeah, not everything will be using, but depends on, yeah. If
Okay.
you used like 10 to 15 conditions in your query, and later you realize one of them has to be commented, that is person number has to be commented. Commented means I do not want to use when query is
Yeah.
running. Okay. That time what happens is, if you put something like this, okay, the to comment it out, see, for at that time it may not be useful, but later you may need that. So you do not want to delete, but you want to comment. So if you want to comment something, you need to put two hyphens here. So if you try to execute this, the condition is not right here, because after where directly you cannot write and. After where one condition comes, if there are more than one condition, that's how and will be used, right? So now what happens is, why I started with 1 is equal to 1 is just for our coding, best coding practices. Okay, now if I go and verify this, it will throw syntax error. Syntax error means what? While compiling the code, your syntax is not right, because after where directly you cannot use and. Okay, now what is the use of 1 is equal to 1 here is, like, let's say if I have something like this, now I need to comment person number, I can go ahead and comment this one, because 1 is equal to 1 always satisfy rest of the conditions, whatever, like let's say there might be 20-30 conditions. After that, if you want to comment something, remove something, it'll be easy. That's why I just use 1 is equal to 1 everywhere.
Yeah. Can you provide these queries for practice purpose later on?
Of course, you will receive everything, all the notes and all. See, that can you please check with admin, so he'll be having the access of all these notes. I'll be putting this in common drive. From there, he will provide you access.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now, is that make sense? Like why I use 1 is equal to 1? You able to follow like why 1 is equal to 1 is used?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So let's go ahead with others. Now we were checking for like. Okay. So like, how like works here? If you want to check certain values in this person number, in this case, what I tried, starting value can be anything, but I want the person numbers which ends with 345. So only those person details I need it in my query. So what I said here, person number like, starting can be anything, end with. Similar, okay, this condition can be written in a different way also. Like let's say starting can be anything. Sorry, starting should be 345, ending can be anything. So after 345, either it can stop with 345 itself, or it can have some continuity value. Okay. Those values should be coming up in my query. That's the requirement. So in real time, people may ask like job contains, or job like, department like, person name like, okay, person gender. Anyway, person gender will be single digit. What else? Person identification number like, person identification number type like. Okay. So those things we will be using like in those cases. So here what you see, expectation is that it should starts with 345, end with anything. As you could see here, it starts with 345, but it has extension. Either it can be 34501 2 34589 and all. Okay. Next, similar like can be used in a different way also. Like let's say if I put two sides, both the sides percentile, can someone help me to understand what happens now? In general, I mean, no need to say exactly. You can just give a guess also. That's also fine.
Which all the records which is having this string 345.
Exactly. So which contains this value in between also, it comes. It is not necessarily starting, ending. Even if it is starting, ending, in between, anything like that will fetch the details here. Okay. So now hope you understand like how like can be used in real time. So see, whatever we are learning real time, in whenever the situation comes, you should be able to use that. It's not like every situation we can guess here, right? So you should know the topics well, and when the situation comes, you should be able to apply that accordingly. Now it can be for any column. Okay, it can be for any certain scenarios. Here you see what is happening. 345 is at end. Okay, 345 is at beginning. Okay, so 345 at end, 345 at end. Okay, 345 at beginning. It's like that. Okay, so now we are done with like also. Going back to the operators, exist and not exist. Okay, so these two will be interesting. So just take a look of how this works. See, exist and not exist, I can say similar to in, not in, but the functionality is different. Okay, so let's see how this works. We have a query something like this. Okay, select star from for all people have, where is 1 is equal to 1. Is this right statement up to here? Yes, it is. Okay, it will fetch the details. Okay, now let's say, and I'm using exist in my condition. Let's see how to use exist in your condition. When you use exist, what happens is, basically why do we write exist is, when you write exist, you will be writing an SQL inside here. This called inline queries, we call it as. Select star from, let's say, any table it is. Okay, for now I'll just use dual. We can use any table in real time.
This
Where
inline queries are subqueries, right?
subquery will be within select. This is inline. Subqueries, we'll talk about that later.
Okay, okay.
That I'll tell you what is subquery. Okay.
Okay.
So here what happens is, when you use exist, okay, it will, when you use exist, obviously you'll be writing an inline here. Okay. So this one, what happens is, it will exist check whether any data coming from the inline query here. So if you run this query, inline query, will it fetch any data for you? Inline query I'm talking about. Is this right or wrong? Or will it fetch the data or not? Only inline query I'm talking about. Select star from dual where 3 is equal to 4. Will that fetch any data? No, because the condition is not right, not
Wrong.
correct. Okay, condition is wrong. So here, when you use exist, the main functionality of the exist is either will it fetch any data or not. It's not necessarily that particular data. It will just check something is coming out or not. Accordingly, the outer results will be, outer query will be working on. So in this case, exist is false. Exist is doesn't satisfy. Okay, so when exist doesn't satisfy anything, exist is incorrect, then obviously you cannot expect the data from main query as well. Okay, so exist means you're checking if some value is coming up or not. In real time, in our real life also, exist means what? It should be there, right? Something should be there. Okay, now if you go back and check the data, you'll not see anything. So same query, if I use for not exist, like let's say here I'm putting this, and I'll, instead of exist, I'll say not exist. So how not exist here is, not exist also will check inline query results. So will it fetch anything? It won't. So not exist means what? It is, we are ourselves telling that there should not be anything coming from this inner query, inline query. Okay, so when nothing comes up, which means not exist have been satisfied. So what is the expectation now? The outer query will return the data. Okay, so let me compile this one and we'll go back to that exist and not exist again to discuss through that. Is it coming up now, the data? Okay, let's talk more about exist and not exist. Okay, so basically exist in terms of what exist means, we are checking something coming up from the inline query or not. Is that right? So if it is fetching something, then only the outer query will be able to return the results. Okay, so since here it is not returning anything, which means exist have been incorrect. I mean, did not satisfy the condition here. So obviously the outer query, the main query will not fetch anything. Whereas in not exist, again, you're writing same query and you're telling the system there should not be anything exist from the inline query. So which is true. So that's how you're able to see the data from your main query. So in real time, they may say that you fetch all the employees data, okay, and exist, the employees should not be available, or employees should be part of some particular legal entity or not be part of that legal entity, equal to I mean, like person job should be equal to this thing. So those sort of scenarios, real-time scenarios, you can use exist. Okay. So whatever you're writing in main query conditions, that is fine. Along with that, you're trying to check one more, whether something is coming up in this or not. Okay. So able to follow on this? Do you have any questions? How to use exist and not exist?
So this exist, this spelling, it is S at the end, right?
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Exist.
Exist and not exists. Okay.
Correct. Correct.
So in
Right.
first query,
Mhm.
before using exist, where 1 equal to 1, it will satisfy all the condition and it will give us data. But
Until
as we
here.
use, yeah,
Yeah. Until here.
yeah,
So
as we use
along with that,
exist,
yeah. Along with that, we are
but
using exist.
in the inline query, the condition
Uh-huh.
is not satisfying, so we won't get the data. But
Mhm.
using exist, uh, we still won't get data, right?
Yeah. So basically, exist here. Yeah. This is what we need to understand. Exist. What it does is, what is the use of exist is, it can return anything from here. We are not bothering about what it is returning. What we are bothering is whether
Mhm.
it is returning something or not. It can be anything.
Yeah,
It
but
can be
in
person
our
number. It can be
condition,
yeah.
in our condition, where condition 3 equal to 4, which is false, it
Correct.
won't give any data in
Exactly.
one query. But
Exactly.
using exist, we will get the data. You're saying
No.
no.
Since it won't get any data here. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now
Mm-hmm.
what we are checking an additional here is, we are just checking using exist. Is something coming up from this or not? Is it true or not? Exist means we are expecting something to be coming from this inline query.
Okay,
But in this case, nothing is coming up.
nothing is
So
coming.
exist is not satisfied here.
Okay, okay, yeah.
Since exist did not satisfy, this and condition did not satisfy. So obviously this won't return anything,
Okay, okay, okay.
right?
And yeah,
When it
same
comes to
for
not
the
exist,
not exist.
functionality is there should not be anything exist from this. So
Mhm.
obviously this query, inline query, is not
Not
fetching
giving
anything.
anything.
So
Ah,
not exist has been satisfied. This
mhm.
and has been satisfied. Where 1 is equal to 1 is also satisfied. So
So
overall,
it
we
will
can see the
provide that
data coming
data.
up.
Okay, okay, yeah, got it.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, for very first, it looks like a bit difficult to understand, or you might need to check again to see what it does. But
Yeah.
similar, it looks like in, not in only. And we say that person number in something and person number not in something similar, but we are
Mhm.
not bothering about what is coming here. We are only bothering whether it is fetching something or not. That's all.
Yeah. So, if in that inline query we will put where 3 equal to 3, so it will satisfy this condition and it will provide the data using exist.
Exactly. Let me execute that. Okay.
Okay.
You're right. It should fetch the data. That is the expectation.
Yeah.
So 3. Now let's go to diagram. Click on OK. Click on view. So expectation is that exist means inside, if it is fetching some data or not, it will
Mhm.
fetch. So the data should be coming up. You see here. So from where the data is pulling up, see this condition satisfied. So data is coming from here.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So exist select star from dual where 3 is equal to 3. When we put this, we could see the data is coming up. And same condition, if you give for not exist, it won't work, because not exist means there should not be anything coming up from here. So if it satisfies, then only the outer query will work. Okay. Okay. So that is on the logical operators, right? So any questions, team, here? We covered arithmetic operator.
No. No questions. Hello?
No. Hello?
Yeah, I think there is some disturbance. So I think they left the conversation. They'll be back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey team, apologies. There was some issue at my end with network, so I just joined back. I'm sharing my screen. Okay, so what I was talking about was like we are done with those arithmetic, logical, and the other one, right? Comparison operators. So, do you have any questions before we move ahead with another topic? Hope you guys able to hear me, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Please let me know if you have any questions with these
No question.
things. Okay. Team, I just wanted to know from others as well. So if no questions, then we can spend 5 more minutes on this set operators and we can end up the session for today. Okay. So the next topic that we have in place is set operators. So if you remember, these things we would have gone through during our education, right? Union, all, minus, intersect. If whoever comes from that mathematics background, right? So there you could see these things, set operators. So for better understanding, I'll also show you how set operators looks like so that you'll get some idea what I'm talking about. We might have gone through, but yeah, let me see if how many of you remember these things from your like long back. I mean, during our 10th, during the time we can see these things. Okay. So if you see here, set operator is union, all, intersect, and minus. Okay. So basically how this works is if I show you the diagram, you'll be able to understand like how these things works. Okay. Let's go back one step. This is not showing up right. I'm just trying to find right diagram here. Give me a second so that the diagram itself talks about this operator a lot. Okay. Nothing is coming up here. Let's go to the images. So basically we have 4 types of set operators. One is union all, intersect, and let's take this diagram. Okay. So if you see here, data will be available in basically when you want to use set operators now, so which means you will be dealing with couple of SQL. What does it mean by couple of SQL is like, let's say I'll give some example here. Let's go to set operators. Let's write that here. So if you're dealing with more than one SQL, that time set operators will be useful. How set operators will be useful for more than one? Let's say, I'll just write some example where and person number in, okay, say 100, comma 200. Okay. Now, what are the different types of set operators we have? One, I say union. Another one we talked about is union all, right? Another one is intersect. Next is minus, right? So these are the operators that we are talking about. Now, how it will be used in real time is like, let's say union I'm using. Union. Here, what I write is, I'll just write those examples and I'll tell you how it works also. So tomorrow we might execute these things. Okay. So let's say this is for union. Okay. This is for union all. First, we talk about these things. So as per our diagram, if you go and check, basically the set operators will be used when you want to deal with more than one select statement. So why do you need to deal with more than one select statement? That we'll talk about in upcoming classes. Like let's say you're using two select statements in your query. So two select statements has to I mean, like what to say, separate with particular set command only. So this is the main thing. So when you use union means if first query return 3 rows, second query also return 3 rows, if both the rows have same values, it will fetch the value as one time, which means if I go back to the example here, so 100, 200, here, how many rows we can expect from this select statement? It will fetch 2 rows where the person number is equal to 100 and 200. So first select statement will write 100 row, 200 row for us along with all other columns. From second select statement, what it will write 200 and 300. So if in these two, what is common here? 200 is common between these two, correct now? From first 100 200 you'll get, from second you'll get 200 300. So 200 300, 200 is common. So finally the result will be 100 200. Even it is duplicate in both the things, it will write only once, and then 300 it comes. So total how many rows will come when you use union? 3 rows. Okay. Whereas if you use union all, so if you go back to the diagram, what it is saying union all, first query returns 2 rows, second query returns 2 rows. If anything is common, that will come as a duplicate. Like let's say 100 from first, second one also from 200, 300. So first this value comes from first select statement, this comes from second statement. Final result will be 100, 200, 200 twice there, but still it will fetch the duplicate also. That is the use of union all. Okay, so why do we need to fetch you duplicate, where it will be useful? That we'll discuss in next classes. Does that make sense? Union all, how it works?
Yeah.
Okay, now to execute this in real time, you just need to find right person numbers here, and if you execute this query, you will be able to understand the example. Okay.
Okay.
Now next thing is intersect. So this will be a bit different than union. So intersect means what it does is, which is common in both, only that value will come up here. You see, intersect, this one. So in query 1, whatever the value is there, in query 2, if that is there, then that will be coming up. So if you try to write, use intersect here, from first query, how many rows will come? 100 row, 200 row. Okay. From second, 200, 300. So finally, what is common here? 200.
200.
Only 200 will come. Okay.
Okay. Intersect.
Yeah, that is intersect. Minus will be little different. So minus is A minus B. Like let's say in real time calculations, 100 minus 50 means what? Within 100, you are removing 50. Is that right? See, 100 is main for us. Out of 100 minus you're doing 50, which means out within 100, you are removing 50. Similar from if you use minus in your select, like let's say this first query returns 100, 200, second query, right? 200, 300. When you use minus, from 100 200 you are removing the 200 300. So which is common here? 200 300 200 is common, so this will remove. So output will be this one. 300 won't be coming up here. See, the data will be coming from this select statement only, but while fetching the data it will check any of the rows available in this one, those will get minus, and rest of the values only will be coming up in this SQL. Able to follow? This is different than others.
Yes, only.
Others able to follow?
Yeah.
So always it will try to remove minus from the first select statement. Here it is writing 2 rows. If any common row is available, that will get minus, and only 1 row will be coming up. Okay. So that is on the set operator. Please go ahead.
Oh. Actually, I didn't hear you. I think internet connection was not stable.
Oh, okay.
So
You
can
able to
please
hear me?
repeat once?
Sure, of course. So am I audible enough?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. What I was talking about, this one is, it works like A minus B. Like let's say A is our first select statement, B is our select statement. Okay. So what A returns here, that is important. If you execute this one, it will write 2 rows, 100 and 200. Am I right?
Yeah.
And A minus B means second one, what it returns? 200 and 300. Okay. Now when you say A minus B, from 100 and 200, it will check any common rows available in B. What is common here? 200 is common between
200.
A and B. So that 200 will get removed, and only 100 will fetch from first select statement. Only 100 will fetch. 300 won't be coming up here, because all the time it is trying to print the data from here only, and it will minus if there is any common from first select statement. That's what it does.
So our priority is to consider only first statement.
First select statement. Exactly.
Minus.
Exactly. But minus will be if any common is there, that will get removed.
Okay. Yeah. Got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So we are at time now.
Sure.
Would like to stop it here. Maybe you can, if anybody has any questions, then we can discuss through for 1 or 2 minutes here, and then we can end up. So any questions from your side?
No, not from my side.
Okay, cool. Thank you. What about others?
No.
Okay, great. Okay,
no.
team. Great. Okay. Thanks for that confirmation. Okay, team. That's all from my end. I'll stop sharing, and we'll end up this. Thank you all for joining.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye. Yeah.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.